Recording in progress.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Arkansas State Plant Board. Glad everyone's here. We've got several on Zoom, so we'll introduce those, and these here at the table, and we'll probably get the audience as well. So I'll just start with myself. I'm Matthew Marsh, represent the Arkansas rice growers, and I'm from Little Rock. So
Sammy Angelo, Lake Village, Chicago County, represent the city.
Nathan Reed from Marianna, Arkansas. I guess I'm a farmer member large.
George Dunklin from Arkansas County, pesticide.
Robin Ralston, I represent Wholesale Retail Fuel, Atkins, Arkansas.
I'm Ken Forth, representing University of Arkansas Division of Agriculture, and I'm from Fayetteville.
Kyle Balls from Pocahontas and representing farmers.
Bruce Alford, Louisville, Arkansas, representing forage.
Sam Stuckey, Lauderdale, Arkansas, representing cotton.
all right, and then on Zoom, I'll call your name, Mr. Beerbaum.
John Beerbaum, Lake Village, Arkansas, representing forestry.
Ross. Garrett.
Ross.
Garrett Frost, Marianna, Arkansas, representing aerial applicators.
Mr. Meyer.
Reynold Meyer in Chico County, representing Arkansas cattlemen.
Miles.
Matt Miles, Desha County, representing soybean farmers.
Mr. Center.
Yeah, Travis Center, Mississippi County, representing farmers.
Dr. Slade.
Nathan Slayton, University of Arkansas Division of Ag, located in Fayetteville.
Thorne.
Robert Thorne, Crittenden County, representing landscaping.
And Mr. Wall.
David Wallace, Crittenden County, Crawfordsville, representing seed growers.
Thank you. I think that's the board members present. We'll go ahead and get to the audience this morning.
General Counsel, Department of Agriculture. Department of Ag.
Andrew Grubmeyer, the Ag Council of Arkansas.
Linda Alford from Louisville, Arkansas. Abby Robson from Mineral, Arkansas. Terry Seifert, Department of Ag.
Otis South from Little Rock, representing Arkansas Crop Protection.
Keith Griggs, North Little Rock, Arkansas Crop Consultant Association.
Regina Coleman, Arkansas Illegal Eradication Foundation.
Philip Black, Department of Ag.
Kristen Walter, Department of Ag.
Kim Stone, Department of Ag.
Tracy Eads, Department of Ag. Lee Gibson, Department of Ag. Susie Nichols, Department of Ag.
Thank you and welcome everyone again. We don't have a lot on the agenda today. We've got a few items we've taken care of quite a bit of in committee, so we'll bring that to the board and entering into rulemaking on a few of those items. So we may go ahead and just have a discussion on those the rulemaking process, and I'm gonna let four seats. We're gonna do the next thing. Did everyone get the minutes? I just got them this morning. Did everyone have time to look over them? I've looked at them and then I don't see any big issues, or they look right to me.
Hello, we accept.
I'll second. All right, got a motion and a second to accept the minutes as written of the June 6th board meeting. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Sam. All right, Court, you want to give us a little rundown?
We'll hang around real quick, then I'll, if I want to follow hang, we'll just talk. I'm a visual guy, so you can sit and read pages of statutes and long checklists, but this is a good visual representation of how the process goes. The more in-depth checklist that I have actually starts with the board or agency adopting a proposed rule draft. So that's where we are. And that would actually be at the far left of that green arrow on the chart. Once the agency or board adopts the draft rule, then it goes to the governor's office for approval. Once that approval is obtained, then a copy of that draft is filed with the Bureau for Legislative Research and with the Secretary of State's office. That's essentially the beginning of the formal process. Once that's done, there is a required 30-day public comment period, which will begin with public notification on state website, within a newspaper for 3 days, including the weekend. And then also, if any person has requested actual notice, then they would get a call, an email, a letter, something serving as official notice for the fact that a rule is within the promulgation process. There may be a public hearing at some point during that 30 days where the department will bring in anybody who wants to come and be heard and have an opportunity to actually stand generally in this room and give their public comments. Once that process is completed, the public comment period is concluded, then we have to sit and look at those comments and review them. Is there a comment here that is a point well taken? Maybe we need to modify something in our rule. If we do feel led to change that draft or amend what our proposal is, then if it's a substantial change, then it essentially goes back to go like on Monopoly, and we'll start that process over. If it's not a substantial change, like you misspelled the word agriculture, okay, we can fix that, and it's not a substantial change, and we move on the process. Once that draft has been finalized, after the comments, it goes back for the board or commission approval. Final approval, yes, we like it. At that point, we submit it once again to BLR, Bureau of Legislative Research, and also the administrative committee, subcommittee in the legislature that deals with rules. And it is placed on a subcommittee agenda at the Capitol on the month following. Best way to explain it, it's hard to follow. The best way to explain this is, we'll say we want this particular rule to be reviewed by the ALC subcommittee in November. To have it on the agenda in November, it has to be submitted by the 15th of the month prior. So October 15th or before, get it on November. They will review it. They have the opportunity to read it. They have the opportunity to ask questions. Once they are satisfied and they say, yeah, we think this is good, it's essentially approved. We submit it in its final draft form to the Secretary of State and to the library. Once the Secretary of State acknowledges receipt, 10 days later it becomes effective. So, but I think important to note, anytime something's changed, if it's a substantial change, then it has to go back to the beginning and start the process over, because the board needs to review it. and the public needs an opportunity to make a comment on it. So,
We haven't been through this procedure in really a few years now. Is everything the same as what we were used to earlier? It's just, I know we got a lot of new people that need this. but-
including this guy, so I may have to ask folks that have been here, is there any change over the last few years?
No, it's pretty much following the same. That's what I thought. Basic procedure is.
We seem to have been doing this quite often there for a couple of years, but we've been out of practice, so yeah, giving everyone, and their new members, give everyone an overview of what, how the rulemaking process takes place. Thank you for it. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And I will just add that even before you get to the stage where we are here today, there's a lot of work that goes in to putting that draft together for the Board of Commission to review.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I make a couple of
Sure,
follow-up
Scott.
comments before we move on? Thank you, Board. So just to kind of put everybody in the picture, several of you on the committees, kind of know where we're going, but the next two items on the agenda are going to be committee reports. It's going to be a pest control committee report and a pesticide committee report. In each one of those reports, you're going to hear a proposal to enter into rulemaking. And those of you that were not on the committee, I kind of wanted to bring you into why we're proposing to change these rules. We work in cooperation with EPA in what is known as a certification and training plan. That plan more or less authorizes us with the authority to operate our enforcement programs and our pesticide licensing programs and our pesticide registration programs at the state level and on behalf of the federal government of EPA. So that plan has not been updated or had not been updated in many, many years. This year, we updated it. And since the last time the plan was updated, there have been a few federal changes. So we had to make changes in that plan, and that required these rule updates. They're not controversial. They basically consist of clarification on restricted use applicator record keeping. And these record keeping requirements that we're putting in these rules in writing have been in place and dictated by the label for years anyway. So they have been enforced and required. They just were not spelled out clearly in our rules. Our rules years ago, when it came to record keeping, were pretty vague. You gotta keep records for 2 years and they gotta contain this, that, and this. Labels are much more specific now and the federal rules are much more specific. So we're just aligning that with federal rule and with the labels. We're clarifying a few categories in the pesticide program. Susie can explain that better than me. It's really not changing anything. It's just terminology. And then in the pest control program, I think we are clarifying, possibly in the pesticide program, our recertification requirements. And these requirements have been in place for some time. They've just never been put in writing in our rule. We've always referred to the U of A Extension Office for certification, approval, and requirements. And they have reviewed programs and sent back that they're approved. Now we're putting in writing the conditions for recertification for licenses. And that pretty much covers it, Susie, right? You'll hear committee reports from the chairs, and if you have questions, feel free to ask. But we don't expect this to be controversial at all. Thank you.
Had some comment from industry as well with those.
On the pest control side, we reviewed it with the pest management group prior, and they supported it. They had no issue.
And so basically 4 months from now, it'll go into that.
If we're lucky and everything goes well. So, you know, the public hearing aspect of that, if I understand it right, there is a trigger there, and it depends on how many comments you get. But Secretary Ward, in some cases, in other rules, has opted to go ahead and have a public hearing just to be on the safe side and to make sure that we put the opportunity out there for whoever wants to come in and comment, and make sure they get that opportunity to come in and comment. So we may end up having a public hearing on these just for that purpose, even if we don't hit that threshold of an requirement. So that is the only thing, you know, that might be a question in this whole process.
And we're not planning on having to rent out the embassy suite.
No,
Public comment.
no, I don't expect a lot. So we've had these committee meetings and word's been out that we're doing this and the phones haven't blown up yet, so. It's really not that controversial, and it does align us with federal rule and labels. And again, like I said, it's nothing we haven't been doing and enforcing all along. We just went through either label or through cooperative agreements with you today. Now we're just putting it in writing.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, with that, we can start with the first one. We've got the pest control committee report, Dr. Ford, and we'll set the rule to introduce it.
All right, thank you. So the Pest Control Committee met on August 21st, and we reviewed the proposed changes to the rules for the pest control, as Scott just alluded to. So the changes are the result of the department's updated certification and training agreement with APA, as Scott just mentioned. And so you have those as attachment A, showing the changes to the document. We went through that carefully, but basically the proposed changes are to clarify the role of the plant board and the department. The plant board role is unchanged and remains the rulemaking, enforcement decisions, and oversight body. The department role is administrative support and program conduction. There were some changes to expanded opportunities for applicator license exams. Restricted use pesticide application record requirements are more clearly stated. Recertification and ongoing education requirements are outlined. And the role of U of A Extension overseeing training material development and updates is more clearly stated. So the committee, like I said, went over these in some detail and went through all the changes, and they then voted to recommend to the plant board that they initiate rulemaking to adopt these proposed changes. So at this point, I'd like to ask for that the board initiate rulemaking for the purpose of adopting these rule changes.
So moved.
We've got a motion by Mr. Angel, second by Mr. Alford, to accept these proposed rules for the pest control section. Any comments, questions? I know we've had these, had a chance to look over them. Committees reviewed them. Anyone have any comments on the rule and or questions about entering into the rule? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of initiating rulemaking on the pest control rules, signal saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carrying. Yeah,
All right, yeah, we have other items that the committee covered. So as attachment B, you'll see a formal resolution agreement of pest control incidents that were presented by staff to the committee. The first one is Green Thumb Lawn and Tree Care. It was a major level violation of 2 applicators, which were a licensee and a technician trainee, making an application lacking PPE, and they agreed to an informal resolution payment of $600. The committee voted to present the resolution agreement to the plant board for final approval. So I'd like to ask for a motion to approve that recommendation to accept the settlement agreement resolution.
motion and a second to accept the resolution agreements. Any comment, question? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So we've also attached in your packets and sent out was the minutes from the meeting. And so at this point, I'd like to ask for a motion to accept those minutes from the August 21st, 2024 Pest Control Committee meeting.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion second to accept the committee meeting minutes. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And our final, order of business for this committee is, shown in attachment D. And that is the examination reports for pest control. And so I'd like to ask for motion to accept those pest control examination results for the months of June 2024 through August of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second to accept the examination results. Questions, comments? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
That completes our report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, next we have the pesticide section, the pesticide committee report. Board Duncan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The pesticide committee met on Friday, August 23rd of this year. The committee reviewed the proposed pesticide rule changes. The proposed changes are a result of the department's updated certification and training agreement with EPA, just like what Scott was talking about. The updated plan requires rule updates in order to align with federal rule changes that have occurred over the last several years. The proposed changes consist of, number one, establish additional applicator categories for certification. Next one is clarifying the rules of the plant board and the department. Plant board role is unchanged and remains rulemaking, enforcement decisions, and oversight. The department role is administrative support and program conduction. Next one is commercial applicator technician training requirements are more clearly outlined now. Commercial and non-commercial application records requirements are more clearly outlined. Restricted use pesticide and application records requirements are more clearly outlined. Recertification, ongoing education requirements now are more clearly outlined. The role of University of Arkansas Extension overseeing training material development is clarified. Pesticide dealers' license records of sale requirements are more clearly outlined. The committee voted unanimously to recommend to the plant board that they initiate rulemaking adopting the proposed changes. So I'd like to make a motion that the board initiate rulemaking for the purpose of adopting these proposed rule changes.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to accept the, or enter into rulemaking in these new rule changes in the pesticide section. Any questions, comments on those proposed rule changes? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
And lastly, just like to, for a motion, accept the minutes of our meeting that have been sent out, the August 23rd meeting of the pesticide committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to accept the pesticide committee report minutes.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have to report.
Vote on the minutes. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Sorry about that.
Motion. No, thank you. Keeping up with the Brandy. All right. Next, we have the Bureau of Standards. Bureau of Standards Committee report by Ms. Rothman. I'll let you give
Okay.
the report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the Bureau of Standards Committee, we met on Tuesday, August 20th, and presented 35 civil penalties to the committees for review and recommendation to the board. You can see on attachment 1, we have 23 for expired and no decal on table 1. And that was 17 first offense, 6 second offense, and then 11 for water contamination for fuel in table 2, 11 first offense, and 1 for flashpoint failure. And that's 1 first offense. So the committee voted to present the 75 civil penalty actions to the plant board, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the Bureau of Standards Committee recommendations to accept the civil penalty actions.
Second that motion.
We've got a motion and a second to accept the civil penalties from the Bureau of Standards Committee. Any questions, comments on those penalties? And all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, then in attachment 2, there were 2 warning letters. The service company failed to properly approve security seals on the collaboration mechanism. No civil penalty is assessed. The committee voted to present the 2 warning letters to the plant board for approval. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Bureau of Standards Committee recommendations to accept the warning letters.
Second.
Got a motion and second to accept the Bureau of Standards warning letters. Questions, comment? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, so in other business, there was an email request to waive civil penalty of $800 in case 24-0194, Weatherly Exxon Hamburg, Arkansas. The committee voted to present the waiver to request for the plant board for final approval. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Bureau of Standards Committee recommendation to accept the civil penalty waiver in case BS 24-0194.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to accept the civil penalty waiver. Any questions, comments on that? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay.
Motion carried.
So there was an email request to waive civil penalty of $350 in case 24-0239 and $800 in case 24-0240. So the committee voted to present the waiver request. I would like to make a motion to approve the Bureau of Standards Committee recommendation to accept the waiver request in case BS 24-0239 and reject the waiver request in case BS 24-0240.
Okay, we want to do those one at a time, maybe.
Okay,
Each one we doing first.
okay, so let's, I'd like to make a motion to accept the waiver request on case BS 24-0239.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to accept the waiver request on case BS 24-0239. Any
How much was that?
comments on that?
It was, 350.
Okay.
All those in favor, accepting?
Aye.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to reject the waiver request in case BS 24-0240.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to reject the waiver request for BS 24-0240. All those, any questions, comments?
That was the $800.
That's the $800 penalty, yes. Any questions or comments on? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Hey, Chairman, could I ask a director question?
Yes, sir.
I know we've gone over these penalties before. I've just never seen, do we collect them all? We're 100% collection, or how do we get being new on this, if it was business, we'd have some kind of aging AR report.
No, we're not 100% on collection. We do have a collecting agency, a law firm that works for us that we turn them over to when they pass due. I don't have in front of me, the breakdown of what is collected and what's owed. Dick might know more about the bureau.
Yeah, last week I looked at the spreadsheet from fiscal year 2016 to fiscal year 2024. The total amount is, which is past due, $85,000.
Whoa. From 16, 2000.
Yeah, in 80 years, yes. That has not been collected.
So do we ever get a report from the law firm of where we stand with these? And I assume they get a percentage of the deal. I
They
guess.
do, they get 20. They do get a percentage.
Okay.
We've gotten that report in the past. I don't know, we don't know if we're doing it annually, or I know we've seen it before, maybe we're gonna do that at the next full board meeting, we can add that information.
We'll prep something for the next board.
Okay.
George, I think one of the problems, and Nick can talk more about it, but they'll change the names of the business and then the previous name won't honor the penalty.
Yeah,
And then it gets hard to.
Yeah, especially on the retail motor fuel dispensers, these small business owners, they're constantly changing, buying and selling these small businesses, and then we cannot find them where they are.
Well, I just remember one meeting, Sam, a couple of meetings ago, Dollar General was like 6 pages. It was unbelievable how many. And there was multiple, some of the same stores had multiple fines, you know, and every time we accelerate. Does Dollar General, do you know that they're paying their fines?
Yeah, Dollar General have basically.
Because they don't change. I mean, they're like corporate.
That I know of.
Yeah.
And now we don't have any problem with Dollar General.
Okay, it's the smaller.
It's part of their business plan.
Is most of that where they're charging more than retail price, isn't there a lot of that?
Scanning, yeah, when they scan it, the retail price is higher than what the shelf price was. I was shocked at how it worked. But the smaller business, you say they changed the name and they changed the ownership, and so.
And there are sometimes there are 5 owners, a group of who owns the gas station, and then we don't know who the owner is actually.
Yeah.
We can find it.
Okay, yeah, I look forward to seeing it before. Yeah, I thank you. Got it.
Okay, all right, lastly on the minutes, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from August 20th, 2024, the Bureau Standards Committee meeting.
Second.
Motion second to accept the Bureau Standard Committee meeting minutes. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Those. Motion carried. Thank you, Ross.
I have one more thing to add, please. So Nick gave me the opportunity to ride along with Inspector Amber Tate. And that was really, really informative, really educational. And what I can appreciate above everything else was the way that she was very professional, but she put everybody at ease while doing her job. That doesn't mean that she didn't find something wrong, but she showed a little bit of grace and held them accountable at the same time. So it was a good experience, and Nick said it's open to anyone here that wants to take a ride along, and I recommend it.
Cool.
Yeah,
Good for you.
yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good exercise.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. That concludes the Bureau of Standards business. It's the next, we've got Director Brady will give us a little update on our Simmons Bank account and CD signers. Got some changes there.
Thank you, Chairman. So. So Lee, before I go into this, I do want to let everybody know, those of you who don't know, that Deputy Secretary Cynthia Edwards did retire. Last Friday, I believe, was her last day. We do have a deputy secretary replacement. It's Alex Johnson. Ms. Johnson, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Alex Johnson. Been with the department since June, learning from Cynthia. First official week on the job and Wes left the country, so everything's going great. Don't need anything, let me know.
Thank you, Alex. So we have 6 plus 7 different financial accounts associated with Plant Forward, and these have signers attached to them, and they haven't been cleaned up in a long time. For instance, we have 6 CD accounts, and the signers on them are Miss Pat Swan, and I don't know if y'all remember her, but she's been retired for almost 20 years. Daryl Little and Don Alexander.
Don Alexander, got it.
And then we have 7 other accounts, which is primarily where, fees generated through our programs come into, and that's what the plant industry division operates on, this funding. And those signees are Linda Lucky and Cynthia Edwards was the other one. And so we need to update these. So what I would ask is that y'all approve, that we replace on these CDs, Pat Swan, Daryl Little, and Don Alexander with Alex Johnston, Linda Lucky, and Mrs. Zaki, which is our chief fiscal officer. I would also like to ask that y'all approve that we remove Cynthia and add Alex and Anusa to the other account, that will keep Linda Lucky on those as well. And that way, those are the 3 people that can sign checks when we pay bills out of those accounts. And then lastly, we would like to add Lisa Washington, who is in our fiscal department, as a secretary on the accounts in the event she needs to call down there and discuss, talk on the phone and do business. They'll only release information and more or less discuss the accounts with somebody who is on there as a signee. So that being said, we'd like for y'all to give us the go-ahead to make those changes.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion and second to update the account CD signers for the plant board. Any questions, comments on the update? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
And for other business, Mr. Chairman, I owe y'all an apology. We have a Boll Weevil subcommittee meeting, and we need to give a report for that. And I swear to you, I thought I had it on this agenda. And for some reason, this agenda is not showing it. So I would like to ask under other business that Mr. Stuckey give the report from that subcommittee meeting. And Regina's here if y'all have any questions or want.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I was gonna say that Regina is here, and if there is any question, he will have the answers. We met on July 29th, and we reviewed the minutes and approved them and updated cash flow as presented and approved, discussed the acres, which have increased to 611,500 acres from the 484,720 acres to 23. And discussed assessment payment collection with 23% online increase from the previous year. And then the rebate checks were, we, at our earlier meeting, we had approved $1 rebate that, yes, that was probably a February meeting or something, Regina?
Okay.
Okay, and so that was paid out, and our annual rate is what, $3, is that correct? $3, and then we rebate, have rebated $1 back, which is good. It just makes sure that they don't have any budget problems, or unexpected expenses, and then, if we're in a position to rebate that back, that's what's been doing, and, we approved the financial statements and the reports. And our next meeting is set for November the 12th. If there are any questions, we can direct those to Regina. There being none, I move that we accept these, Boll Weevil subcommittee report.
Second. We got a motion and second to accept the Boll Weevil committee report. Any questions or comments on their business? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried.
I've got a question from Regina. How are you doing completing the whole collection?
Okay,
I hope my name's not on the list.
Well, you're here if it is.
As of this morning, 97% collected. So far, we have collected 1.8 million, and we have 63,000 left to collect. And those on the list, Scott, you'll recognize a lot of those names. It's the ones that, like, every year, the same ones. Some of them will put off until the gym calls me and says, what have I got to do to get the gym certificate? And sometimes the gyms pay it, and sometimes the growers. We have one that has historically, he's probably on back to 2016, like some of y'all's, if it's not paid. Grower up in the Delta Zone that farms mainly in Missouri, and then has a 37.2 acre field in Arkansas that he does every year. We don't pay for it. And I wanted to make one correction on our acres since that last meeting.
Okay.
We've gone up to 613,031 acres. We're not quite there.
Thank you, Regina. Now, one comment I did mine this year online. That was pretty easy and a good way to do it. It took less time, less meeting. So, I'd recommend everyone trying that looks like we're at 23%. So you got room to grow. That was easy way to do it. Thank you. That's all. Thanks, Sam. Any other business for the board today? Bob?
I'd like to, so we had a gentleman coming in from California, moving to Arkansas, going to be involved in the peanut industry, and to kind of show him around, we brought him down here, and Scott and his team did a tour of this facility. And, that was worth an hour of our time to start out at the animal labs and see what comes in and what testing's done. They carried us all the way through the building, and you got a good feel of the amount of equipment that's here that's operated and the amount of volume of testing that goes on. And then to your point, kind of the people behind this that do it, that are just feel real good about that and everything. And so I'm not proposing or anything, but I'm sure Scott would be willing to take any of y'all through that if he asked to. It was well worth the time, and gave me I was involved in the plant board once before, but walked away with a much better appreciation for the grind and the influence that this organization has in the state. So throw that out.
Thank you. Yeah. So. And echo the same. They always seem to do a great job for everything I know we need for this board. I know there's a lot more to the department and a lot more people than we see every day or at these meetings, doing good work. Thank you. Any other business for the board today? Any none? I'll take a motion to adjourn. We gotta set the next board meeting. We try to do it early in the month. It'll be in December. I know the first week maybe out for me, the second week. Sometime in there might be good before we get into, in the end of the month, and people get a lot more busy.
Andrew, hey, council meeting,
12 and 13.
okay.
Did you the 10th work?
10th is good.
Everyone?
10th is good.
Okay. Good. We'll set the next, quarterly full board meeting for December 10th. Linda. I'm gonna skip a step, we would have been not, wouldn't have known what to do. Now I accept the, motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
Stay at 9:30. Yeah, that's a great time.